The chamber was enormous, built from metal that seemed to drink in the light from the neutron star outside. Day One stood at the human podium, his hands gripping the edges as he looked out at the assembled representatives of 300 species. Some had tentacles, some had wings, and some were just clouds of gas held together by force fields. But they all looked at him the same way. Like he did not belong there, Hannah stood beside him, her tablet showing the proposal they had worked on for 6 months. It was simple, really. Stop giving the best planets and trade routes to species just because they were old. Start giving them to species that worked hard and contributed to the galaxy. Merit, not age. Fairness, not tradition. The current system is broken, the one said, his voice carrying through the translation devices. 300 species, but only 5 make all the decisions. The rest of you just follow orders. We can do better. The Velfarian chairman, Kiro, made a sound like grinding rocks. His species had controlled the council for 12,000 years. He was not amused. Better? Kiro's translator made his voice boom. You have been spacefaring for 3 centuries. Human. My species built this council before your ancestors left their caves. You dare lecture us on governance? Other representatives began making their species' version of angry sounds. The Quelzoids rattled their shells. The Morphians changed colors rapidly, flashing warnings. Day One had expected resistance, but this felt like something else. This felt like fear. I am not lecturing anyone. Day One tried to keep his voice calm. I am offering an alternative. Look at the numbers. Young species are given the worst territories, the most dangerous jobs, and no voice in decisions. Meanwhile, the elder races take the safest, richest systems and claim it is their right. How is that fair? Hannah activated the holographic display. Charts appeared, showing resource distribution over the last 1,000 years. The pattern was clear. The 5 elder races controlled 70% of habitable worlds and 85% of trade routes. Everyone else fought over scraps. This data is falsified, a Quelzoid representative clicked. Manipulated by primitives to cause chaos. It is from your own archives, Hannah said quietly. Public records. Anyone can verify it. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted in hundreds of languages. The translation system struggled to keep up. Day One saw what was happening. They were not angry at the data. They were angry at being shown the truth. Kiro slammed his massive appendage on the command panel. Silence fell immediately. There will be a recess, he announced. We will vote on the human proposal in 1 rotation. Day One and Hannah returned to their quarters on the station. Through the window, the neutron star pulsed with deadly radiation, held back only by the station's shields. Humanity had been so proud to finally join this council. 5 years of proving themselves worthy. 5 years of playing by rules that seemed designed to keep them small. They will never accept it, Hannah said, reviewing the reactions. The elder species have too much to lose. Maybe, Day One agreed. But we had to try. We owe it to every young species in the galaxy. The next rotation, they returned to the chamber. The vote was called immediately. No discussion. No debate. Just a simple question. Should the Galactic Rulers Council adopt the human merit-based resource distribution system? The votes came in rapidly. No. 847 times, the representatives voted no. Only the human delegation voted yes. Day One had expected rejection. What came next? He had not. There is a second matter, Kiro announced, his eyes fixed on Day One. Evidence has emerged of human tampering with council security systems. Classified data was accessed illegally. This is an act of espionage. That is a lie, Day One stood up. We have accessed nothing beyond public records. The evidence is conclusive, Kiro continued as if Day One had not spoken. The Council cannot function with members who violate sacred trust. Therefore, I call for a vote of expulsion." The chamber went silent. Expulsion had not happened in 4,000 years. It was the ultimate punishment, reserved for species that committed genocide or used forbidden weapons. Hana pulled up their security logs, showing every access request, every database query. All authorized. All legal. But nobody looked at her evidence. "This is a setup," they once said loudly. "You cannot accept our ideas. So you manufacture crimes. Vote." Kiro commanded. The votes came faster this time. Yes, yes, yes. 847 votes to expel humanity from the Council. Only humans voted no. Security drones appeared around the human delegation. They were not violent, but they were firm. Day One and Hana were escorted from their podium, down the long corridor toward the docking bay, where their ship waited. At the chamber exit, Kiro appeared. His massive form blocked the doorway. "Go back to your little corner of space," he said, his translator making each word sharp. "The real powers will handle the galaxy. You are children playing at politics. The Council has stood for 50,000 years. It will stand for 50,000 more. Without you." Day One looked up at the alien leader. He felt anger, yes. Humiliation, certainly. But also something else. Clarity. "You have just taught us a valuable lesson," Day One said quietly. "We cannot trust your system. We cannot work within your rules. You have forced us to find another way." "There is no other way," Kiro laughed, a sound like boulders falling. "We control the jump gates. We control the trade routes. We control everything that matters. You have nowhere to go." Day One smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "We will see about that," he said, and walked past Kiro toward his ship. As their vessel detached from the station, Hana looked back at the massive structure. "What now?" she asked. Day One activated the communications panel, opening a secure channel back to human space. "Now," he said, "we stop asking for permission. We stop playing their game. We change everything." The ship jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the Council station behind. Neither of them looked back again. The message traveled fast through human space, expelled, humiliated, banned from the Council that controlled most of the known galaxy. When Day One's ship arrived at the new Sol station above Earth, he expected anger from his people. What he found was something different entirely. Jiwan met him at the docking bay. She was young for a political leader, barely 40, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind her stood representatives from 70 human colonies spread across 200 star systems. "Welcome home," Jiwan said. "We heard what happened." "I failed," Day One said simply. 5 years of diplomacy wasted. "No," Jiwan shook her head. "You showed us the truth. The Council will never accept us as equals. So we stopped trying to join their club. We build our own." She led him to a conference room where Minho was waiting. The former admiral looked older than Day One remembered, but his eyes still held that calculating sharpness. "We've been preparing for this," Minho said without preamble. "The Free Colonies movement has been organizing for 2 years. We knew the Council would eventually push us out. They always do with species that think differently." Hana studied the star charts on the wall. They showed human territory, but also something else. Dotted lines connecting to dozens of other systems, most of them outside Council space. "What is all this?" she asked. "Our real network," Jiwan explained. "While you were playing politics at the Council, we were building relationships with species they ignore. The Cycrans, the Taraxans, the Volnathi. Dozens of others. All of them too small or too young for the Council to care about." A new person entered the room. Suho was an engineer, covered in the kind of grease stains that came from working directly on machinery. He carried a data cube that glowed with a soft blue light. "Is that it?" Minho asked. Suao grinned. "Tested it 3 times. Works perfectly." "What works?" Day one was confused. Suho activated the cube. A hologram appeared, showing a ship engine design unlike anything Day one had seen. "We call it the Ghost Drive," Suho explained. "Standard faster-than-light travel leaves a signature. Energy emissions, spatial distortions. That is how the Council tracks every ship in the galaxy. They know where everyone goes, what they do. Control through surveillance. And this drive?" Hana leaned forward, her scientist brain already working through the implications. "No signature? 0 emissions. Completely undetectable," Suho said proudly. "We can go anywhere, and the Council cannot track us. Their entire surveillance network becomes useless." Day one felt something shift in his chest. "Hope, maybe? Or vindication. How long have you been working on this?" 8 years, Suho admitted. "We started when it became clear the Council was never going to share their advanced technology with younger races. So we developed our own. Better than theirs, actually." Minho pulled up another display. This one showed military formations, ship designs, tactical plans. "The elder races have not fought a real war in 10,000 years, he said. "They have massive fleets, but they use them for intimidation, not combat. Their tactics are ancient. Their strategies are predictable. They have become lazy, and humans?" Day one asked. "We remember how to fight," Minho said simply. "We remember how to innovate. While they have been sitting comfortable at the top of their hierarchy, we have been evolving. Every year, new technology. Every decade, new strategies. They are still using the same ship designs they had 5,000 years ago." Jiwan activated the main display. It showed a new symbol, a circle with connections radiating outward. "The Independent Systems Alliance," she announced. "That is what we are calling it. No rulers, no council, just free species working together for mutual benefit. We already have 23 species ready to join. They are just waiting for us to make it official." Hannah was scanning through the list of potential members. "These are all species the Council rejected or ignored." "Exactly," Jiwan nodded. "The Cycrans are brilliant mathematicians, but the Council only lets them work as calculators for the Quelzoid trading houses. The Taraxans have mining technology that could revolutionize resource extraction, but the Council took their mineral rights and left them with nothing. The Volnathi have medical knowledge that could save billions, but they are classified as too primitive to contribute. So we offer them what the Council would not," they once said, "understanding. Freedom, respect, partnership. More than that," Minho added. "We offer them technology sharing. The Council hoards knowledge. We spread it. Every species in the Alliance gets access to everything we develop, including the Ghost Drive." Suho brought up schematics. "I can retrofit any ship in 3 weeks. We start with cargo vessels, establish trade routes the Council cannot monitor or tax. Then we move to colony ships, help settle worlds outside Council jurisdiction. Finally, defense vessels. Not to attack, but to protect our right to exist independently." Day one walked to the window overlooking Earth, his home world, blue and green and beautiful. Humanity had reached for the stars 3 centuries ago, hoping to join the galactic community as equals. Instead, they had found a hierarchy that wanted to keep them small. "No more begging for scraps," he said quietly. "No more asking permission." Jiwan agreed. "We announce the Independent Systems Alliance tomorrow," Minho said. "Send envoys to all our potential members. Offer them a choice. Stay under Council control or join us in building something better." Hana was still studying the Ghost Drive specifications. They will try to stop us. The Council will not tolerate this kind of rebellion. Let them try, Suho said confidently. They cannot find ships they cannot track. They cannot control trade routes they do not know exist. By the time they realize what we have built, it will be too late to stop it. Day one turned back to the group. These people had not given up when the Council rejected humanity. They had prepared for it, planned for it, built the foundations of something new while he was trying to work within a broken system. I spent 5 years trying to change their rules, he said. You spent those same years building a game they cannot win. I think I was working on the wrong project. Jiwon smiled. You gave them every chance to do the right thing. Now we do it without them. Tomorrow, we change the galaxy. Not by asking for a seat at their table, but by building our own table. A bigger one. A better one. One with room for everyone they left behind. The meeting continued through the night, planning, organizing, preparing. Outside the window, Earth rotated slowly. And across 200 human systems, the same message began spreading. The Council threw them out. Good. Now the real work could begin. 6 months passed, and the galaxy started to change in ways the Council did not expect. Haijin's ship, the Diplomat's Hope, dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Cycron homeworld. The planet was beautiful, covered in crystalline structures that caught the light of twin suns. But Haijin knew the truth behind that beauty. The Cycrons were essentially slaves, their mathematical genius exploited by the Quelzoid trading corporations. The Cycron representative, a being made of shifting geometric patterns, met her in orbit. You are human, the Cycron observed. The species expelled from the Council. We are, Haijin confirmed. And we are offering you a choice. Stay as calculators for masters who do not appreciate you, or join the Independent Systems Alliance as equal partners. The Council would never allow it. The Council does not get to decide anymore, Haijin said simply. We have technology they cannot track, trade routes they cannot control, and we share everything we develop with our members, including quantum computing that would let your people calculate at speeds even you have not imagined. The Cycron's patterns shifted, showing interest and disbelief in equal measure. Why would you share such technology? Because we are stronger together than apart, Haijin explained. The Council's way is hoarding, controlling, keeping everyone in their assigned place. Our way is different. Every species has something unique to offer. You have mathematics. We have adaptive engineering. The Taraxans have mining. The Volnathi have medicine. Together, we build something no one can build alone. 3 days later, the Cycrons voted to join the alliance. They were the 31st species to do so. On the other side of the galaxy, Taiyang was doing different work. Intelligence gathering was not glamorous, but it was necessary. He had spent 4 months infiltrating Council databases, tracking financial records, studying classified files. What he found made him angry. The Council had a program. They called it the Development Limitation Protocol. It sounded official, reasonable. In reality, it was suppression. Every time a young species developed promising technology, Council agents would intervene. Sometimes, they would buy the technology and lock it away. Sometimes, they would sabotage research facilities. Sometimes, they would simply assassinate the scientists involved. All to keep young species dependent on Council approval for advancement. Taiyang compiled the evidence carefully. Thousands of incidents over 10,000 years. Revolutionary medical treatments that disappeared. Energy sources that were mysteriously abandoned. Weapon systems that would have let smaller species defend themselves. Destroyed before completion. He sent the data to Jiwon with a simple message. They have been holding us all back. Share this everywhere. Jiwon did exactly that. She released the files on every communication network in the galaxy, encrypted in ways even Council sensors could not block. Within days, billions of beings across hundreds of worlds knew the truth. The Council had not just been governing the galaxy. They had been controlling it, limiting it, keeping everyone small and manageable. The reaction was immediate. Protests erupted on Council-controlled worlds. Species that had been loyal for millennia started questioning everything. The second-tier powers, species that had some influence but not real control, began secret negotiations with the Alliance. Bowman watched it all from the open exchange. Humanity's new trading hub built in deep space, far from any Council jurisdiction. Ships arrived hourly now, bringing goods, technology, and refugees from Council restrictions. "We are processing 2,000 trade agreements per day," his assistant reported. "The logistics are becoming difficult." "Hire more people," Bowman said. "Pay them well. We are not the Council. We do not exploit our workers." The exchange worked on a simple principle: fair value for fair value. No tariffs based on species age. No preferential routes for elder races. If you had something to trade, you could trade it. If you needed something, you could buy it at honest prices. It was revolutionary. And it was working. A Taraxan freighter captain approached Bowman's desk. Her species looked like walking crystals, refracting light in beautiful patterns. "I have raw minerals from our home world," she said. Before, the Council took 90% as taxes and fees. We barely survived on what was left. "And now?" Bowman asked. "Now I keep 70%. The other 30% covers exchange operational costs and goes into a shared infrastructure fund. I made more in 1 month here than in 5 years under Council control." Stories like that spread quickly. More ships came. More species joined. The Alliance grew from 31 species to 52, then 73, then 80-9. The Council noticed. How could they not? Their tax revenues were dropping. Their trade routes were emptying. Species were simply leaving their system and joining the alternative. Kiro called an emergency session. His hologram appeared on screens across Council space. "The so-called Independent Systems Alliance is an illegal insurgency," he declared. "They use stolen technology. They harbor criminals and rebels. They threaten the peace and stability the Council has maintained for 50,000 years." Hyjin was ready with a response. Her own broadcast went out immediately. "We stole nothing. We built our own technology because you refused to share yours. We harbor no criminals, only free beings who chose independence over servitude. And your peace was built on suppression, your stability on exploitation. We offer something better. Join us and see for yourself." The war of words escalated. The Council declared Alliance space off limits. They established blockades around key systems, trying to choke off the growing rebellion. Council warships, massive vessels that had not seen real combat in millennia, took up positions around Alliance worlds. Bowman reported supply problems. "They are blocking shipments to our newer members. Food, medicine, basic supplies. People will start suffering soon." G1 called an emergency meeting of Alliance leadership. Day 1 attended, along with Minho, Suho, Hyjin, and representatives from a dozen member species. "They are testing us," Minho said bluntly, "seeing if we will back down when faced with military pressure. Can we break the blockades?" A Taraxan representative asked. "Easily," Suho confirmed. "Those drive ships can slip through undetected. We can run supplies to any world we need to. But that only treats symptoms," Hana pointed out. "The Council will just add more ships, more blockades. We need a permanent solution." Day 1 studied the star charts showing Council fleet positions. They were spread thin, trying to cover hundreds of systems with limited forces. "They have made a mistake," he said quietly. They think this is about territory. It is not. It is about ideas. You cannot blockade an idea. What are you suggesting? Ji-Wan asked. We do not fight their blockades. We make them irrelevant, Day-One explained. Every Alliance member starts producing their own essential supplies. Food, medicine, energy. We become self-sufficient. Then the blockades mean nothing. That will take time, a Sikrim representative noted. Then we buy time, Minho said, a dangerous smile on his face. I think it is time we showed the Council that their military superiority is not as absolute as they believe. The meeting continued late into the night. Plans were made. Resources allocated. And across Alliance space, the message went out. Hold firm. Stay strong. The Council could blockade their systems, but they could not blockade their future. The Voltharian Armada was the largest military force ever assembled in the galaxy's recent history. 3,000 warships, each one the size of a small moon, gathered at the edge of Alliance space. Kiro himself commanded from the flagship, determined to crush the rebellion with overwhelming force. They are primitives playing at politics, he told his officers. We will sweep through their territory in days. After the humans are broken, the others will surrender immediately. Admiral Junho watched the approaching fleet from his command ship. His forces numbered only 400 vessels, and most were converted civilian ships hastily fitted with weapons. By any traditional measure, this should be a massacre. They outnumber us 7-1, his second officer reported nervously. They do, Junho agreed calmly. But we have advantages they do not expect. Activate ghost drives. Execute Plan Sunwoo 7. Young pilot Sunwoo had developed a tactical doctrine they were about to use. She was only 25, but her innovative thinking had impressed even veteran commanders. Now, her unconventional strategies would be tested in actual combat. The Voltharian Armada entered the Kepler Nebula, confident in their sensor superiority. The nebula's radiation made scanning difficult, but their technology was ancient and reliable. Then the Alliance ships simply vanished. Where did they go? Kiro demanded. Find them. The sensors showed nothing. The ghost drive technology made Alliance vessels completely undetectable. The massive Voltharian warships floated in the nebula, blind and confused. Sunwoo's voice came over the tactical channel. Pattern Alpha. Hit and fade. Do not engage directly. Alliance ships appeared suddenly, fired precisely targeted shots at weapon systems and engines, then disappeared before return fire could lock on. They were not trying to destroy the Voltharian vessels. They were disabling them. This is not combat, a frustrated Voltharian captain complained. This is harassment. But harassment, repeated hundreds of times, became devastation. Within 6 hours, half the Voltharian Armada was crippled. Ships floated helplessly, weapons offline, engines dead. KIRO ordered a retreat, but Alliance vessels were already surrounding the exit routes. Then something happened that shocked everyone. Medical ships appeared, broadcasting on open channels. This is Dr. Nari of the Alliance Medical Corps. We are here to provide aid to wounded personnel. Power down your weapons and prepare to receive medical assistance. Kiro could not believe what he was hearing. They want to help us? After we attack them? Apparently, his communications officer confirmed. Equally confused, Nari's ships moved among the crippled Voltharian vessels, treating the injured, providing supplies, even making temporary repairs to life support systems. Wounded Voltharian soldiers were taken aboard, treated with the same care as Alliance personnel, then returned to their ships. This had never happened before in galactic warfare. Enemies were destroyed or enslaved, not healed. What is the purpose of this? Kiro demanded when Nari's face appeared on his view screen. The purpose is basic decency, Nari replied simply. Your leaders sent you to fight us, but you are just soldiers following orders. You deserve medical care, regardless of which side you fight for. We are your enemies. You are people, Nari corrected. And people should not suffer because their governments make bad decisions. The rescued Veltharian soldiers returned to their ships with stories. The Alliance had treated them with respect, fed them, healed them, asked for nothing in return except that they return home safely. The news spread rapidly through the Veltharian fleet, then throughout Council space. The response was confusion, then contemplation, then something more dangerous to the Council's authority. Questions. Why were they fighting people who showed them more mercy than their own government? Kiro retreated with what remained of his armada. He had lost half his forces without the Alliance destroying a single ship. Worse, he had lost something more important: the certainty that might made right. 3 weeks later, the Morphians sent their third fleet to succeed where the Veltharians had failed. The Morphians were even older than the Veltharians, their military traditions dating back 20,000 years. They would not be humiliated by Pior. IMITIVES thought they entered the Andromeda Strait, a region of space with limited navigational options, perfect for forcing a direct confrontation. Sunwoo was ready for them. She had studied Morphian tactics, ancient and predictable. They relied on formation discipline, overwhelming firepower, and superior numbers. We will not give them any of those advantages, she told Junho. The Alliance fleet appeared in front of the Morphian formation, but instead of engaging, they simply flew circles around them, literally, using ghost drives to appear and disappear. They created the illusion of chaos while maintaining perfect coordination. The Morphian commander ordered his ships to fire, but their weapons tracked nothing. Alliance vessels were always moving, never where sensors predicted. This is impossible, the Morphian admiral complained. They violate every principle of naval warfare. Good, Sunwoo said from her fighter, leading the dance. That means it is working. For 12 hours, Alliance ships ran circles around the Morphian fleet. They did not fire a single shot. They did not need to. The Morphian vessels, trying to track impossible targets, burned through their fuel reserves, exhausted their crews, and accomplished nothing. Finally, Junho opened a channel to the Morphian commander. "You can go home now," he said politely. "Your ships are out of fuel. Your crews are exhausted. You cannot catch us, and we have no intention of destroying you. This battle is over." "You did not even fight us," the admiral protested. "No," Junho agreed. "We outmaneuvered you. There's a difference. War is not about how many ships you destroy. It is about achieving your objective. Our objective was to prove you cannot defeat us. Objective achieved. Now go on." The Morphian fleet retreated, completely intact but utterly defeated. Not a single casualty on either side, yet everyone knew who had won. By now, 3 council member species were holding secret talks with Alliance representatives. The military victories, combined with Nari's humanitarian approach, had created something unprecedented: respect. The Council could destroy Alliance forces through sheer numbers. But at what cost? And to what purpose? The Alliance was not trying to conquer anyone. They just wanted to be left alone to build something better. Kiro called another emergency session. His position was weakening. Several council members were openly questioning whether continuing the conflict was worth the cost. "We must show strength," Kiro insisted. "If we let them exist independently, others will follow. The entire system will collapse." "Maybe it should," a Qualzoid representative said quietly. "Maybe a system that can only survive through suppression deserves to collapse." That statement, from a member of an elder race, changed everything. The Council had maintained power through unanimous support among the ruling species. Now that unity was fracturing, across the galaxy, beings watched and wondered. The Alliance had defeated the Council's military forces without massive bloodshed. They had treated enemies with compassion. They had proven that young species were not inferior, just different. And they had shown that the Council's 50,000-year reign was built on nothing more solid than tradition and fear, both of which were rapidly losing their power. 2 years after humanity's expulsion from the Council, Day One stood once again in the same chamber. But everything had changed. The massive space station still orbited its neutron star, but the representatives inside were different. Where once 5 elder species had controlled everything, now 300 species sat as equals. The old podiums, arranged by age and importance, had been replaced with a circular design. No one was higher than anyone else. The Independent Systems Alliance had grown beyond anyone's expectations. 187 species were now members. More significantly, 43 species had left the Council to join the Alliance, including 2 of the original 5 ruling races. The Veltharians had split. Half remained loyal to Kiro, but half had formed a Veltharian Democratic Republic and joined the Alliance. The Morphians had made the same choice after younger generations voted to abandon the old hierarchy. The Council was not destroyed. It still existed, but it was no longer the only game in the galaxy. And without the power to enforce its will, it had been forced to change. Jiwan walked to the center of the circular chamber. She wore simple clothing, refusing the elaborate robes that elder species favored. She did not need costume to command respect. Her words were enough. "We gathered today to formally establish the Democratic Galactic Assembly," she announced. "This is not a replacement for the Council. This is an alternative, a choice. Species can remain with the old system if they wish, or they can join us in building something new." Kiro sat in the observer section, no longer a chairman but just another representative. His power had collapsed with his military failures and the defection of half his own species. He looked older now, defeated. "The Assembly operates on simple principles," Jiwang continued. "One species, one vote. No permanent members. No hierarchies based on age or military power. Decisions require genuine consensus, not threats or coercion. Technology is shared freely among members. Trade is conducted fairly, and no species is considered superior to any other." A Qualzoid representative, one of those who had secretly negotiated with the Alliance, raised an appendage. "How do you prevent chaos? Without hierarchy, without order, how does anything get decided?" "Through discussion," Jiwan said simply. "Through compromise. Through recognizing that different perspectives make us stronger, not weaker. Yes, it is slower than having 5 leaders dictate terms, but it is also more stable, more fair, and more likely to produce decisions that actually work." Hannah stepped forward with a holographic display. She had been working with scientists from 70 different species on something remarkable. "I would like to present the first achievement of our open scientific collaboration," she said. "A medical treatment that extends healthy lifespan for most known species by 30 to 40%. This was developed jointly by Sequran mathematicians, Taraxan biotechnologists, Volnathi medical experts, and human genetic researchers. No single species could have created this alone. Together, we did it in 18 months. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Life extension technology had been sought for millennia. The Council had researched it for thousands of years with minimal progress. "And you are sharing this freely?" a skeptical representative asked. "That is what we do," Hana confirmed. "The formula will be released to all Assembly members within the week. Free of charge. Free of restrictions. Because scientific advancement should benefit everyone, not just those who can afford it." More representatives spoke, asking questions about governance, trade, security. Each concern was addressed not with grand promises, but with practical examples. The Alliance had been operating for 2 years. They had data, results, proof that their system worked. Finally, a vote was called. Would the Council agree to merge with the Assembly, creating one unified galactic government based on democratic principles? The votes came in slowly. Some Council loyalists refused, choosing to maintain their separate system. But one by one, species chose change over tradition. The Quelzoids voted yes. The smaller species voted yes. Even some Velfarians in Kiro's faction voted yes. When the count finished, 203 species had voted to join the Democratic Galactic Assembly. 97 chose to maintain the old council system. That it was not unanimous, but it was enough. The galaxy now had 2 systems of governance. One based on age and power, one based on equality and cooperation. Time would tell which one lasted. G1 was elected first speaker by popular vote among assembly members. Not appointed by elders. Not inherited through bloodline. Elected because beings from dozens of species believed she would lead fairly. The inaugural assembly session lasted 3 days. Dozens of proposals were debated, from universal trade standards to mutual defense agreements. It was messy, complicated, and often frustrating. Democracy usually was, but it worked. On the final day, Day 1 found Kiro standing alone near a viewing port, watching ships come and go from the station. Quite different from when you threw me out, Day 1 said quietly. Kiro did not turn around. We were wrong. I can admit that now. We thought age meant wisdom. We thought power meant right. We were wrong about many things. Not too late to change, Day 1 offered. The Assembly would welcome the remainder of the Veltharian people whenever they are ready. Some will never be ready, Kiro said. Pride is difficult to abandon. I know, Day 1 agreed. We humans struggle with it too. But we learned something important. Being wrong is not a weakness. Refusing to change when you know you are wrong, that is the real weakness. Kiro finally turned to face him. You wanted to rule us. That was our fear. That humans would take over, dominate, exploit like we did. No, Day 1 shook his head. We never wanted to rule you. We wanted to free you. There's a difference. The Council ruled through control. The Assembly leads through cooperation. Your fear was that we would be like you. We just wanted everyone to be themselves. A message came through on Day 1's communicator. The Universal Technology Sharing Treaty had been ratified. 187 species had just agreed to share all their knowledge, all their discoveries, with each other. Kiro saw the message too. That would have been impossible under the old system. Which is why we built a new system, Day 1 said. You had 50,000 years to do this yourselves. You chose not to. So we did it for you. The Assembly's first month saw rapid changes. Free trade agreements were signed. Scientific collaborations were established. Defense pacts were created, not to conquer, but to protect. The open exchange expanded to 50 locations across the galaxy. But the most important change was symbolic. The day humanity was expelled was declared Galactic Unity Day. Not as a celebration of rebellion, but as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes being rejected from a broken system is the first step toward building something better. G1 addressed the Assembly on that first Unity Day, 2 years ago. We were thrown out because we did not fit their rules, she said. We could have responded with bitterness, with violence, with revenge. Instead, we responded with creativity. We built our own path. Not a human path. A path for everyone who wanted something better than perpetual hierarchy. She paused, looking at the hundreds of species represented in the chamber. Today, we celebrate not the destruction of the old order, but the creation of a new one. An order based on mutual respect, shared prosperity, and genuine equality. We do not claim perfection. Democracy is messy. But it is our mess, built together, governed together, improved together. The assembly erupted in applause, each species expressing approval in their own way. Clicks, chirps, flashes of light, and simple clapping hands. Later that evening, Daewon stood with Hana, Jiwon, Minho, and Suho, watching the celebration from a quiet observation deck. "We changed the galaxy," Hana said softly. "Actually changed it. We gave them a choice," Daewon corrected. "They chose change. Important difference. What now?" Suho asked. "We have the assembly. We have the technology sharing. What is next?" Jiwon smiled. "Now we prove it works. Not just for 2 years, but for generations. We show that equality is not just idealistic nonsense. We show that cooperation beats domination every time. We build a galaxy that our descendants will be proud to inherit. And if the old council tries to stop us," Minho asked. "They already tried," Daewon reminded him. "They failed. Not because we beat them in battle, but because we offered something better than victory. We offered them the chance to be part of something meaningful." They stood in silence for a moment, watching ships from dozens of species dock at the station. Each one bringing goods, knowledge, people. Each one proof that the impossible had become real. "They threw us out because we did not fit their rules," Daewon said finally. "So we wrote new ones. Not human rules. Rules for everyone. Welcome to the galaxy we all deserve." And across 200 star systems, billions of beings celebrated the same thought. The old powers had tried to keep them small. The new alliance had set them free. The future was uncertain, challenging, and full of possibilities. But for the first time in 50,000 years, the future belonged to everyone.